Welcome to the Offer Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Michelle.
And I'm your host, Jeana.
And we're so glad you're here with us today. And today we're going to continue our discussion as we talked about in the previous podcast last week on church hurt and spiritual abuse, kind of sharing a little bit more in regard to our own personal stories, primarily Jeana, but also the things that we've experienced over the years, but also just to be able to acknowledge that we know that many of you have walked through church hurt and maybe even spiritual abuse, and the difficulty that has cultivated,
and had on people, and that you're not alone.
You're not alone.
Because as we said last time, the statistic is about 70% of Americans call themselves Christians or would claim to be Christians, which is great news. But then out of that 70%, about 30 to 35% no longer go to church or are part of a gathering.
Which is a sad statistic.
Yes.
Yeah, we care
because
about
of church
that.
hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we care about that very much.
That is the why.
We want, exactly, that's the why.
That's the why, because it's important. It's important for us to talk about this. It's important for the dialogue, because we're not the only ones that have experienced church hurt. We know that if you've experienced church hurt, you are not alone either. There is a whole people group out there who have had this, and it is.
But then how to get beyond that?
Not okay, and then how to get
heal?
beyond it.
And part of healing is talking through things. That's why people go to counselors. That's why people have their dear friends that they talk through things with. We want to engage in that way, and just know that your story is yours. It matters. It matters what you've gone through. It matters what we've gone through. And we just want to invite you in. And we don't have all figured out, but we know when things are that, like that book, Something's Not Right.
Yeah.
It's that kind of context where over the course of some time, you feel like something's not right, and then you want to give the benefit of the doubt because of relationship and friendship and trust. But then there are places that don't really make sense because they're incongruent. And again, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, some of that incongruency can be held in place when there is not a biblical standard, when it's more of an Americanized kind of perspective, CEO mentality, rather than a plurality of elders or voices that can give some accountability. But when you have a structure that doesn't even lend to having any voice of accountability, or even an access point voice of supposed trusted ones, then that's where you can get into some pitfalls.
Yeah. So we'll just jump right in.
I like it. It's a good plan.
And you're right about all that you just said, for sure. So, and we'll see that kind of play out in my story, your story, our story, as some of that is crossed over. But was on staff, as we've talked about before, with
15 years.
An organization for 15 years. And yeah, it's the only place my children had known. And in saying that, I just want to also give accolades to my husband, Ashley, for making sure that our sons were at church every Sunday, because I was there quite early. Yeah. And so they couldn't be there all day, nor should they be. So it really...
Right, they were very young.
Yeah.
I mean, what, was Asher one when you...
Yes.
I mean, it's your youngest one.
So he deserves a lot of accolades for making sure they were there and making sure they understood how important it was to be there. But that being said, I'm going to kind of start at the end and we'll work backwards. And really, there was a lot of clarity brought to that whole last year of me being there.
Right.
Because, as we've talked about, you and I, and even some others, it's kind of a slow fade with what sort of happened. So if I push this cup right here, you're not going to notice it today.
Right.
But when it's over here in a year, you're going to be like, was that? And then,
wasn't that over there?
But then you'll almost gaslight yourself because you won't even know the difference at some point, right? So that's what we do. So that's sort of how some of this is
Especially
played.
when you have a genuine heart to give the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, yeah.
And also, like, as Kathy's always said to me, if you're in covenant relationship together, community, the people that you are running with, you give them the benefit of, that's what you believe the best in them. You know who they are and you believe the best about them. If they're having a bad day, you don't just shock them off and say, bye, you're having a bad day, I can't deal with you.
Well, no, that's complete immaturity.
100%. And it's absolutely not being a good friend, and for sure not a good leader either.
Well, it's not biblical.
Exactly. We, like, as I mentioned before, we mourn with those who mourn. We rejoice with those who rejoice. We're invested.
Well, and Matthew says you go to your brother and you have a conversation.
Sure.
Whatever.
All the things.
There's so many elements to that. But in the piece of the story today, later, after this event, there were several really egregious lies told about me and then told about you, this defamation of character place that we'll talk about. But on the day I was dismissed, fired, let go, whatever language you want to put with it, to make it somehow seem a little more freely, it was...
Or spiritual.
Or whatever.
Which, again,
it was,
when you use spiritual language for your own benefit or manipulation of a situation, that is spiritual abuse.
Yes.
You gave the definitions
and
last.
Then let me just say also, so you're fired this day, and on this day there's a meeting for you to sign an NDA. So,
it had been in the works, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Without any conversation, without, hey, maybe we should do this with your job description, or like most
any business.
Exactly.
Any business.
Especially if it supposedly tries to be run as a corporation. It is when it's convenient, but then you can go under the church banner when it's not convenient.
Yeah.
Which Ashley and I both said you should not sign that.
You did.
Because I will say,
and I did not.
Having a lot of research in the, even prior to this, on church situations and circumstances, even from when I was in college and things that I had seen, knowing that for sure an NDA, it is about proprietary information. Like,
well, it said that I couldn't speak. I couldn't tell
but that's the point.
My story.
It is absolutely a silencing mechanism, which is a form of control. It wasn't about proprietary secrets like, oh, this is how we learned how to make the formula for Coca-Cola, so you can't tell anyone. No. That's the corporation NDA. The church, honestly, should not have NDAs. It's not a biblical concept. It is a man-made, cultural, Americanized concept, and it's not.
We've got something to hide,
right?
And we don't want you to share what you know.
And that's exactly why there is this push for that across the board. It's not just in your circumstance here, but across the board, we've seen it over and over play out, so that people cannot offer their own voice or tell their own story that is theirs. No, it's their story to
be
tell.
Silenced. It's literally contrary to offering your voice.
Yes. And our own agency that the Lord gives us.
Yes. So I really appreciated that advice.
Sure.
And that was a tough meeting with another person from the staff, not from the main leadership. So that was also an interesting conversation. But regardless, so on the day that I was fired, we're going to call it what it is, I came in that morning early, counseled a person, had our staff team meeting, took all of the boxes full of baby bottles to
and explain that the baby bottles were full of coins. Because they were raising money for the church, the people who gave toward that.
Toward it, yes.
Yeah, we're raising money, but that's
It's heavy. So all those boxes went to my car and were delivered to the organization, a nonprofit. I did it all myself. All the while, which is fine, whatever. All the while, they know that at 2:00, when I have my meeting, that I walk into with a notebook, a water bottle, my phone, and a pen, because I think it's an actual meeting with leadership
notes
that I would have
to execute something.
Yes, this is the next plan of action. And I am immediately blindsided and said that I was being let go. And after 15 years, with no conversation. I want to be clear, there was never one conversation of a job poorly done, of any kind of unethical behavior, any kind of anything, any red flag at all. There was never one conversation about that ever. So I want that to be real clear, because that is the problem in so many churches / nonprofits, because there does not have to be. I could have fired someone in the church that worked for the team because I didn't like what they wore. That is how I know what it looks like to work in corporate world, and I had to have full documentation on why I would let somebody go.
Of course, you would never do such a thing.
Of course not. That's ridiculous.
But the point is,
that's why I say it. That's how silly that is. It's so silly. Who would do that? But also
these types of rules.
This was happening to me, and I didn't even know what I had done wrong.
Of course.
And then when asked what I had done wrong and
what was the reason?
What was the reason? I was told these 3 things. I was told that I wasn't a team player, which
funny thing.
I was in charge of the whole team.
Another friend said, if that's the language, it's the funniest thing, because you are the teamiest of team players.
It's actually crazy language, really.
Anyone that knows you.
Second was that these words weren't used. I don't remember the exact language, but insubordinate in a meeting, which I was not insubordinate, and that wasn't the language even used there, that I was out of line, not supportive.
That's
in
the
a
word
meeting,
is.
Not supportive. That I kind of spoke up for 2 other team members who couldn't be held responsible.
Actually,
doing my job.
Your job.
But I also should have known about this information before this meeting, because if I'm the executive pastor, I'm the one executing these decisions and having the team coming up with a plan, a strategy, a procedure, I should have known this information before it was delivered to the entire team. Anyway, all that being said, it was delivered. I simply had a perhaps this isn't appropriate for these 2 members of the team, of which one has since left. The other one is family, so it is what it is. But I would say that I was only fighting for my team.
Yeah, as a team player.
As a team player.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the third thing was we had an event, and I was helping in the cafe, and I was told.
But you also did not feel well.
I was sick. I was helping. I was serving. I had no other.
I didn't have any other help that night,
and I had no other.
It was a Wednesday night instead of a Sunday.
Right, and I had no other role that evening either.
Right, you had already fulfilled your roles for what needed to be done.
Ashley and one of our sons was in the service.
Even brought his girlfriend at the time.
And I decided to leave. Told Ashley I was leaving. Told you I was leaving. I was sick, quite sick.
You just served for a few minutes in the cafe.
Yeah, but I was told never once after that. I was told in this meeting when I was being fired that how poor it was of me to not text leadership that evening and say I was leaving.
Let me just again reiterate that you were in an executive role. It wasn't like you were down on this sort of totem pole scenario.
No.
You would have thought, being that you're the leader and the facilitator of the entire team, that you would have some standing to, nothing you would do would be to take advantage of a situation.
Of course.
And of course, if you felt well, you would have loved to have been in worship that night anyway.
Absolutely.
That's your favorite thing.
It was a worship night. It was great. Yeah.
Absolutely. But you did not feel well.
I did not. And so
But just the fact that you helped for 15 minutes in the cafe.
Right. That was like a game changer, deal breaker, whatever that was, even though we had never had that conversation.
Sure. Not about a Wednesday night.
Nope. Not about a Wednesday night. Only about Sunday mornings. And so this was not that at all. So I had no idea that was problematic. And that's just completely transparent.
But it was the third thing that was mentioned.
That was the third thing as to why I was fired.
Straw that broke the camel's back?
Broke the camel's back, I guess. Yeah, it was. That was exactly the language that was used. That's right. So I think there's...
Wow, that's a pretty intense straw.
I mean,
right?
it's like...
okay. All right.
meh. But
After 15 years.
after 15 years, those were the three things. After never a conversation of any of those. Never a conversation, Jeana, you're not really being a team player. Here's why. How can we improve that? That would have been a mature leadership conversation
I was
to have
gonna say,
had.
a leadership role is to do that.
Right.
To have that conversation. I have young people on my team that if they're not doing things that need to be done for the coffee shop, for their job, then I have to have a conversation with them. It might not be super comfortable, but I have to call them higher. I have to call them to my standard. But it's honoring to that person.
Right.
For them to have the opportunity to rise to the occasion that I'm expecting of them. And that, of course, is what a leader does.
Yes, absolutely. So, that being said, I'm going to back up a timeline real quick. I'm just going to boom, boom, boom it, and then I'm going to talk about the lies and the defamation of character.
Okay.
And then we're going to process that, and then that's probably going to be where we land today. So the timeline begins in this scenario, October 8th.
Yes.
That's when my mom passed away suddenly. And then from there, we move into a grand opening. So that's October 8th, October 22nd, 2 weeks, we have a grand opening that I have to be ready for. There's so many things happening.
The responsibility, you are the executive pastor, so you have to execute.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's this happening, a new location, new building, all the things. And, we're putting together furniture and we're unpacking boxes and we're doing all the things. So there's that piece. October 22nd, grand opening. That's happening. That's a big deal. Then we move right into event after event after event after event. And
that goes right into the holiday season.
We do not
Christmas.
stop. So many things. We had a
marriage
women's
seminar.
event, a marriage seminar that was thrown on me last minute. There was a celebration of, birthdays,
Just a
Christmas,
lot of things.
just so many things. There were so many things. And then
we were
Easter.
still leading a small group, trying
Yes.
to, even though I'm, want to apologize to you, you probably did not need to lead that semester, but we had been with these young women for some time, and it was probably too much to pull on you during that time to do that.
Well, and then I think
but we didn't want to let them down.
we didn't want to let them down. We wanted to stay with it. They wanted to stay with it, but also, and many of them were so precious. So
Of course.
As we said last time, there was also some health scares that I was having. There was some real tangible.
Let me just say this: the health scares were very weighty. They were not a lightweight thing, and it was clear to the people that you were working for that was the case, that these were weighty health scares, not you scraped your knee, but 2 different places in your body potentially could have had cancer.
Yeah. And there was
some other things.
a lot of doctor visits, a lot of things happening.
Yeah.
Just having
goodness that's not the case.
right.
That's
No,
not your
I'm
story.
fine.
We're very thankful for that.
Yeah. We're working through the things that it.
But that was
is,
the
but,
moment. In that moment.
And in that, you're processing all of that.
You had to facilitate Easter, which we know for the church world is like Super Bowl Sunday.
It is.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's a huge deal.
Easter was late that year, end of April, and then we had to facilitate Mother's Day coming up in May. But I was
Which the weight of that even.
my first Mother's Day without my mom. But from Easter, and then I was fired on May 20th.
Pentecost Sunday. I mean, the day after Pentecost Sunday
So we'll
on
just
Monday.
put that there. Regardless, I had gone to leadership right after Easter and said, I think that I am having a mental health crisis. I am
Feel under depression.
I am struggling.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to get out of it.
Yeah. It finally had caught up with you.
Yeah.
The weight of grief, and then
my
health
own
scare.
Yes. And then just the
grind.
exhaustion of the
Yes.
grind. I mean, it was so many things. I'm bearing the weight of, I know not solely. I mean, that would be too much to say, but it feels like if it doesn't happen well, then who's the responsible party?
Sure.
And so you want to do all things well, obviously, but I was struggling. And
you shared that.
I did share that. I tearfully shared that.
Right.
And I shared that I don't know how to kind of go forward. I need help. I need help figuring this out.
Maybe potentially a leader might say, why don't we take 2 weeks and you just do nothing?
Potentially, that could have been.
And let's have a pause. Let me pray for you through this.
Potentially, that could have even been a great start.
Yeah.
Just stop and pray for me.
Yeah.
Just stop and pray for me. That could have actually just been a really great start.
Or if it's too much of a hassle, then again, you feel completely devalued.
Well,
as a
after
person.
sharing my heart and that I don't know how to manage the things, I really am struggling and hurting and very vulnerable.
Yeah, you were very open.
I don't love being super vulnerable, so in that that was tricky territory for me, but I did it because I knew it was the right thing to do, so that if I was tearful in a meeting, so it wasn't alarming to anyone.
Hey, just give me a little grace
Yeah,
here,
just
folks.
can I just have
these are the reasons.
a moment to heal now that we have a little bit of time to decompress. That was left with zero compassion, zero heart to help at all, except for a tap on the door frame saying, why don't you get some counseling for that? So while I guess if you could look at that, it could be good advice, but not with the understanding and intention in which it was given. So I think that was really hurtful and eye-opening also. And then there were other things that happened that I don't need to give full examples of. I don't want to get in the weeds on things, but I will say...
But they are real things.
They're real things. They're real things, and they're real...
And you could.
Could I? I could. Yeah. We could be here for days.
A laundry list, sure.
Yeah, but
we're not doing the weeds.
That's not helpful. The overarching kind of place and system was that there was no help. And then it was a constant gaslighting of how I was not enough. And even...
you did it wrong.
Yeah. And that I, wasn't giving my all. I wasn't available, as available as I needed to be. Even after sharing that, even earlier in April, even some of that leadership and at the time, some of our dearest friends, even those snarky moments that, we're there supporting, but even in one occasion asking us about someone that we were helping in the journey with spiritual abuse, and even saying to us, well, how do you know?
What is
how do you
spiritual
know
abuse?
that they're like, what does that even mean?
There's no such thing basically as spiritual abuse.
Right. And so we're like, okay.
But there actually is.
Well, there certainly is. And this person had gone through it at a previous location. Anyway, all that being said, but then even in those same encounters, it's like there's such a manipulation of sorts and even control and just trying to wear you down. And as a parent,
or set you up, one or the other.
Well, that's true.
A both and.
But as a parent, we talked about last time that I got to parent the way we felt led to parent.
Absolutely.
But even in April, being, a month before being fired, having the conversations of, you let your child listen to reggae music, aren't you scared they're going to worship a Rastafarian God? No, I'm not scared about that in the slightest.
And fear, again, is...
Fear, yeah. And then... and
it's not like you're talking about you're doing reggae every day. It's a one-off, like you're
right.
Yeah,
and
I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, okay, the boys took me to kind of be a cheerful moment, sweet, took me to the Barbie movie.
Because they were like, a girly movie.
Oh, a girly movie, it'll be sweet. They didn't care about seeing it.
Of course not.
I was asked, did your boys feel emasculated after the Barbie movie? And I was like, absolutely not. After what? What? And they were like, oh, well, because Shakira's boys felt that. And I said, well,
We don't take our advice from Shakira.
We'll never be taking parenting advice from Shakira. I can tell you. Did we remember
also,
the Super Bowl?
Has
But
anybody
I also
seen your boys? Like, they could not be
emasculated from the Barbie movie or in general. So anyway, whatever. It was just also just a ridiculous comment.
It was to
and
hit you.
That was about me
hit you.
that I
Yeah,
allowed them to watch
yes.
that, or I allowed them to listen to reggae music or whatever that didn't fit into their mold with intense judgment.
This episode of the Offer Your Voice podcast is sponsored by Brown Dog Coffee Company in beautiful downtown Burgaw, where we micro-roast our coffee daily. Come see us at the shop, 103 West Fremont Street, for great coffee and good vibes. Or visit us online at browndogcoffeeco.com.
So then we fast forward to May 20th, and I'm out the door. And there are a couple things about that day that I just want to bring out. I do want to say that the very first thing after packing up my office alone, because everyone went to the children's wing and left me to pack up my office by myself.
Kind of hit out.
Cowards. I'm going to call that what it is. That's cowardice behavior.
Cowardly, for sure.
It for sure is. There is no way that if I was in my right mind, I would have allowed that to happen to somebody else.
You help.
I'd be, excuse me? That's
you
not
help
what we're
your
doing.
friend.
Yeah,
You help.
Even if we don't agree. I mean, I never once raised my voice. I didn't even shed a tear that day because I think it was so like,
well, it was shocking.
What is happening? Shocking. And then I had just shared that I was working through depression, frustration, like I don't even know what I was feeling, grief, all the things. Pain, and so I think it was loss. Yeah, that's good. I was kind of numb. So just packing up my office by myself was also just like, what am I doing while they're all hiding out in the children's wing? But whatever, that's what happened. And so I remember walking out on my last step, my last trip out to my car with things from my office, because we had to provide most of the things that were in our office ourselves. But I walked out and I remember looking up to the sky, which you know this, but one single tear fell from my cheek and I said, "Thank you, God, for setting me free." Mm-hmm. That was the very first thing that came out of my mouth before I even realized how I've even felt, which is also telling.
It is telling.
It's a little bit astounding, really, that was the first thing that came out of my mouth. I said it audibly out loud.
To the Lord.
To the Lord. Well, of course, to the Lord.
Your heart was speaking.
Yeah. And then I said, "And please forgive me for any places that I have ever spoken ill of anyone." Mm-hmm. Because that is also part of my story, that I became
something that you're
like
not.
the gossiper I was around, mm-hmm. and became part of the story. Even if I wasn't sharing, I was listening.
Even if you were trying to be a safe place to,
of course, that's what
be available.
That's what I thought
would be your role.
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
That.
It wasn't, and it was.
All of it was strategic. We didn't realize it at the time.
It's true.
It was to keep us in line for one thing.
It absolutely was.
And
now we can see that
we're not easy to keep in line because neither one of us are yes people. We don't do yes.
No, not for the sake of yes.
No, we say we're not contrarians on purpose.
I asked a lot of questions. I want to know why I'm saying yes.
Why. Yeah. You're both of us.
Yes.
What is the why?
That's right.
And that's good, because otherwise then you just walk through in a zombie
blindly,
state.
Yeah.
Like a good little soldier.
Yeah. I'm good because he's good. And so that's the reality of that. And like, his DNA is in me, so I get to have that calling on my life. So nobody gets to tell me that but him. But then afterwards, we heard, because there were meetings all the time about you and I, mm-hmm. and really
a lot of talk about us.
A lot of talk.
Well, the very first talk was from the platform. Mm-hmm. A very, very. I don't even know how to qualify the statement, but it was. I would even say egregious, honestly, because of the framing of the statement from a senior leader who invoked the name of God into this decision when I had the conversation that none of this looked like the fruit of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
At all whatsoever. Not a narrow bit of thing of it.
Well, apparently we were talked about a lot on Sunday mornings, on different meeting nights. We were just talk of the town for a while, so they couldn't.
Oh, probably still are, but
Yeah, whatever.
Oh well.
Oh well. But one of
My mama would say, if they talk about you, they haven't forgot you.
You can forget me. It's fine. Give you permission. I'm just kidding. But the places that were lied about us to just about anyone who would listen, of which many people either left the day it was announced or have left since. There's been quite a few people who have left.
Knowing that it just was not right.
Wasn't right. And I'm just finding out about people who are leaving because it's just not, things just aren't right. And so when you feel that, that's discernment, that's the Holy Spirit.
Well, speaking of discernment and the voice of the Holy Spirit to you, one of the ways that spiritual abuse works in a circumstance like that is that you have to go to the man or the woman of God to get the word or to hear what's happening rather than having the inner working of the Holy Spirit within ourselves to hear his voice saying,
like, I'm not capable.
This is the way.
Yeah.
Walk in it.
So what was said about you and I collectively is that in our life group, in our small group, whatever terminology we want to put with that, we were having a seance.
Yeah.
Absolutely no. So that is.
Well, the thing is, they started with that as the.
Oh, and then
Go ahead. They started with they were having a seance. There were candles, which there were not.
No.
The lights were off because they were always off because
we were in a fishbowl.
We used those small little lights.
Yeah.
Because we didn't really want Oleander Drive to see into the windows.
Well, it's all glass where we met, and it was nighttime,
right.
so the lights. We were in a fishbowl.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And that was the comfortable way for.
That's the girls' request.
Yeah.
The young
the
ladies'
ladies.
request.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But to say that we were having a seance because we were dealing with generational patterns, which we had taken the whole semester to talk through, and you could be a part of it or not be a part of it.
We were
completely
very clear on that.
For sure. Have, clarifying language, something that was always agreed with by the leadership there and in every other context.
Yeah.
But to qualify it as a seance, it was just such an egregious hit. But it was so ridiculous that nobody believed it, or even if people did, a majority of people did not. And so then the story had to flip. Then they had to flip the script and say, actually, no, we were just joking. Joking. That was actually told to your son by a staff member. Oh, it was just a joke. It's just a joke. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's
The
just
whole
a joke. And then
teams, whole peoples
we've
were
heard
told
in
that.
other contexts as well. Oh, it was just a joke.
Just a joke.
Because it was so blatantly
ridiculous
and not connected to myself or Jeana in any way that it couldn't stick to us. So then you had to flip the script.
Yeah.
So that is a defamation of character. But I mean, it sorted itself out because it was so ridiculous.
Well, it was ridiculous that it was almost laughable. However,
Still
when you
painful.
say the absolute contradiction of what we're doing,
Yes, that we're trying to help people be free.
to have
in
actual
God.
life.
Yes.
And we're talking about a ceremony that is
Conjuring
calling
death
up the
and demons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's just
no.
not ever what
It's a no.
it's
a no.
That is an absolute no.
Yeah.
So that is not even in question. Anyway,
So that was a point.
That was a point in all these meetings that they were having with all these people, because everyone was up in arms, like, what's happening? And we were not ever allowed to tell our story People were never allowed to contact us. That was sort of the thing set in stone.
Which I just want to say, when you have a organization that requires you not to talk to people who have been previous members of that said organization, you literally might be in a cult. That is cult-like behavior.
That is cult behavior.
Yeah, because first of all, it's in God that we live, move, and have our being, not under the banner of the house. But also, if you're in relationship with a brother or sister in the Lord, then you can go to your brother or sister in the Lord and talk to your brother or sister in the Lord.
Yeah.
And have some clarification.
And at any point in time, anyone who came and asked us our story, we always also said, because we never told our story without being asked.
Right. Although we could have.
We could have.
But we did
We
not.
could have shouted it from the mountaintops, but we did not. We
So
were
necessary.
quiet and we were gentle and we were hurt,
We were
really.
hurt, yeah.
And we never shared our story without being asked. And if we weren't asked, we didn't share. And we always said, you have every right and probably responsibility to go ask them their story. And then you figure out where you are.
Yeah.
And so that is real. And many of the folks who asked us our story did go and meet with them and ask them their story. And then they were able to say, no. And where they really overplayed their hand too was some of those ladies who were in our group. When they told them that they had a seance, they were like, we didn't have a, we were there. We didn't have a seance.
We were there.
We know
Yeah.
what we had. It was definitely anything but a seance. That was a breaking off and breaking free moment. And so, it, again, overplayed its hand. But still defamation of character.
And another defamation of character that is just really egregious toward you, Jeana, that is, it's painful to me because I know the woman of integrity that you are, and how you would never steal from the Lord or the church, how much you have paid of your own money. You can't even imagine the amount that you have because you're sort of taking up the slack in those areas. But to have said of yourself that somehow you paid for two of our young ladies that we were hosting a baby shower for, out of the church budget, and it was not the case.
But
I've
stole
got my
money.
Amazon receipt for the half that I paid for your half, that we did it together.
Have my Amazon receipts.
Yes.
And there were a few things so as that played out,
Sure.
yes, it was told to the church that I misallocated funds of the church's money.
Which, let me just say, if the church can't give to a couple of young women who have been part of the church for years and years and years.
One longer than me.
Right.
17 years.
As just even we see you, we appreciate you, we love you, we value you. This is a celebration of a brand new life. Let's buy you a stroller. Okay.
Yeah. And as the executive pastor, I should be able to make that call, but
Sure.
that's not exactly how it went. But then to say, because you have no
that's
better
not what
reason.
happened. What happened was we ourselves
did it
personally.
And I was given, this is weeds slightly, but I was given a monthly stipend that I never, ever, ever
$75?
used.
Yes,
Even
which-
when I would take people to coffee or take them to lunch, I paid for it out of my money. I never used this ever. And then I used some of that money for this shower to buy things.
And you verbalized that.
I did. And to only buy
Clarified
things
it
like
prior
vases
to.
that were the church's now. It didn't go anywhere. There were the church's things at this point in time. Like even some of the decor, the churches now that they
Right.
can use for anything that they want to use it for.
Right.
So that,
And even any food that was left over, that if some portion of the food, we paid for some of the food, some portion of that was donated then to the youth ministry.
to the youth ministry or to the guest of honor, that's where it went. Like
Yes.
literally, I wasn't like I was feeding the boys for a week. You know
No,
what I
of
mean?
course
It
not.
was, but that's what misallocating funds sounds like, that I was doing something crazy.
Shady.
I got nothing from that whole thing. Nothing, not one dime of anything I got.
No.
I took nothing home with me, nothing. But I did use $300. Those $75 added up for that amount of money. So, that's what,
To purchase
4
decor
months.
and things that were then donated
Then
back
the
to the church.
churches,
Given back to the
they were
church.
not mine. They were no one's. It was that stuff donated to the church.
Even though
or not donated,
your
but the church.
allocated funds were used.
And I can use those with no questions asked. That was the said
Agreement.
rule that I can
Supposedly.
use it for with no questions asked. I don't even have to really even turn in receipts. I can just simply say, hey, I want to take so and so out for lunch. That was $30 or whatever. It didn't matter until it did, because they needed a reason to say why they fired me. And this just fit into their...
Even though you had put in for that, had gotten the okay on
Yeah.
that. It wasn't like you just did it yourself.
Right.
You had put it in.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah, I had said what we were doing,
Yes.
and it had a verbal okay on it. One thing learned, everything's in writing.
Sure.
But even then, it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, my email was shut down before I was even fired that day, so I just thought there was something wrong with the internet. But it is what it is. I mean, so when you don't hold any power in a situation, then it is
which is connecting back to spiritual abuse.
absolutely control and manipulation. But the fact of the matter is that they got to create
The own
the
narrative.
narrative. They got to create the narrative solely because I was gone. You're invisible and voiceless now. That's going to be your story. And honestly,
And then we're going to talk a bunch of mess that's not even true.
that's not even true. That's
To be your story.
completely a falsehood about your story. And there are other
many other
things that they've said about us and me, but I am, and you and whatever people, it doesn't even matter. It's just trying to keep spinning things. When you look back, this is a pattern there.
Sure.
It happens about every 4 years.
Yep.
So giddy up, the next 2 years are going to be very telling there. It's going to happen to somebody else. And, I wish you well, because it's unfortunate. It does not.
It's cyclical.
It's cyclical because there is nobody
When
keeping.
there's a gap.
There's
when
nobody
gap,
keeping them accountable, as you said.
Yeah, that's when there's a gap.
Yeah.
There's access point for things to continue to be in chaos and confusion, and you may be able to smooth it down for a season, but it's going to come back again, and you've seen it. Like you said, there's been a pattern over the many years that you were there. I was there for 11 years, over a decade, and I did so much volunteerism there. I was not paid staff, but I was expected to basically work as if I were staff. And to my love for the Lord is what that was about. And I wanted to see things flourish and grow and be a light in that city, of course, and do my part, bring my portion. But as far as like any kind of compensation, that was just not the case. And even the things that were told to me in regard to the new building and the coffee shop, that I did not get in writing, and was trying to hold the line with my own business, because being a business owner, I can't just give my product and every other thing away. But the goal was, if I were to facilitate coffee on Sunday morning and donate coffee, then I would be able to have the coffee shop open as an access point to the community. I thought of it as a mission access point to the community. And then I was open in that context for a week. And then they said, oh, wait, we can't do that because it's not zoned correctly, which this is a lesson learned for myself, that I will get all the facts in writing prior to. But, I mean, if you can't trust the people that you're that are your leaders, that are supposed pastors, and then how do you? I mean, man, that's a tough one. So that part was very difficult, and even the negative connotation against the coffee shop somehow, of things that were said to me, things that were said about me that were absolutely not true. I did not throw my purse in a meeting that I had with the senior leader.
And you didn't just not show up the next Sunday.
And also, I didn't even have a purse that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was something that was said about me as a lie, a lie and an accusation. And that one hurt.
Yeah.
Because I honestly just couldn't believe something could just be made up out of thin air and said about me. That just was, but even after that, I still tried to be a team player and be a part. But that definitely should have been a major red flag when someone makes up an actual, complete, bold-faced lie about you, says you did something that you absolutely did not do. Then you can't. That person cannot be trusted.
Yeah. No.
And as far as your position being dealt with on Monday, and then I got a call on Tuesday, which I thought I was getting a call from my pastor to care for my heart, that my best friend had just gotten fired from this position, and that was actually not what was happening. I got the call. I was here at the coffee shop and walked outside, and I got the call and was told to come, that I was no longer the prayer director for the prayer team, which I wish I had just said, and why is that? I didn't. I was so blindsided also that I didn't even say, and why is that? Why are you taking me out of that position? I hadn't done anything wrong, but you're no longer the prayer director, prayer leader, and then come and get your stuff from the coffee shop. You're no longer going to have your product here, and it needs to be done before Sunday. And I said in that conversation, well, we would not just peace out. Let us have some transition. Let us help with transition. This is going to look bad on Brown Dog. And I was told, oh, it won't look bad on Brown Dog, even though Brown Dog Coffee, even though the following Sunday it was overheard that we just hadn't shown up, and which was a lie. It was a lie. I would have showed up.
Yeah.
Even though I would have been in pain about you,
yeah,
I would have shown up for
your
the people
integrity.
And my integrity and my own name.
Right.
But was not given the opportunity for that. And so you on Monday, me on Tuesday, and then even young Asher, 16-year-old drummer, on Wednesday. You want to share that?
Yeah, quickly share that. And then, but yeah, Asher was Wednesday, received a call that he was not able to play that coming Sunday.
And he absolutely had done nothing wrong.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
Just,
It was
guess,
just a
I guess you were both guilty by association of whatever
the circumstance.
Whatever the made up scenario was about me. But
well, is it chicken or egg? We don't
right,
know.
it's whatever. But at this point, it doesn't matter. However, then when that happened, it was sort of like, okay. Then people started raising eyebrows about, wait, you cut the kid?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
16-year-old like
so,
that, not even caring for Asher's heart.
Nobody cared for any of my children's hearts. Who've been there their whole life. Their whole life.
And we're very involved with the youth ministry. Ashley was a volunteer for years.
Yep.
Levi as well.
Yes.
It was
at
ugly.
the time 2 of them in youth ministry. Also very involved. It was.
And then so Thursday, come get your stuff, everybody.
Yeah, come get your stuff. So we are.
And of course, no one's there to help.
Packing up. No one's there.
It's me, you, Ashley, and Gavin.
Yep. They've allowed me access. There's cameras everywhere, so they've allowed me access one more time in. I was to leave my key. They were changing the codes. Yep, you as well. They were changing our codes, deleting them. After that,
Deleting our codes. It's kind of telling.
yeah. Well,
even on that conversation, on that phone call, when I got told, you've got to do this and this and this and come get your stuff, I said, well, this feels like I can't even come to church. And I was told, I would never say that. Church is a place for healing. And I was like, wow, well, this definitely does not feel like anything connected to the Holy Spirit. And again, that we had just had Pentecost Sunday talking about the power of Holy Spirit and the beauty of our God, and to be told, yeah, you just get your stuff out. I really don't care about your heart. I mean, those were not the words that were said, but that's what it said to me, because there was not care or concern. And then also the one subscription that the church had it was actually not the church at all. It was a personal subscription for coffee, because I donated all of my coffee for years. I donated all of that. I don't care what anyone says. I did not get paid for that.
no, of course not.
It was a donation, which I was happy to do it. But the one subscription that one person had in leadership canceled it that Saturday night at 8 p.m. as a basically, don't come to church tomorrow. It was meant to hurt me.
Yeah.
Because I have seen this pattern before, and it was a tale, you know. And let me just say, it did hurt. It did hurt, because this was supposedly a dear friend.
Well, because there was no conversation about it, about anything. Even if it was a precarious, even if it got a little heated conversation, there was nothing said. You were erased. They never even spoke about you.
Well, that's why I said I kind of felt like Marty McFly, you know, where he's getting erased from existence, you know, and he's like erased from the picture. Yeah. That's definitely how it felt. Like all the contribution that I had made, which I take that as unto God, unto the Lord. Yeah. I give that is whatever I poured out was for him.
For him. But, and it matters, you know. It matters. It matters. And that's the thing, too, that our viewers and listeners need to hear, that no matter church hurt and no matter what that has felt like or looked like and how we've been harmed, what we have given, what the relationships made, what we've poured out into others, that matters. That's eternal.
That's eternal.
Yeah.
That's right. But it was very clear, don't come back.
Yeah.
You're erased.
Well, it was very clear, too, when Asher was taking off the drums, that I wasn't to come back either.
Sure.
Not that I would want to. I mean, who wants to come back and be part of that? I did not. But then when from the stage, it says that it was necessary that they fire me.
Yeah, that somehow
like there was some moral failure
or some ethical issue. Like, it is ridiculous.
Yeah. But I guess if they're saying I stole, I guess that's what. I guess.
Oh, sure.
So,
yeah.
I guess that was their story. So whatever.
And insubordination or not being a team player or whatever.
Having an actual voice.
Having an actual voice and not being a yes person continuously. But I will say what you said about what things that people have experienced, the things that we've experienced, it matters. It matters to the Lord, and it matters to one another. And one of the sort of side effects or another wave of kind of grief or grieving is that people that you were in relationship with, then they're just completely absent from your life.
Right.
And how strange that is.
Yeah. Because it's two different things you're grieving.
Yeah.
You're figuring out the hurt of the place and the people involved, but then there's all this other stuff.
Yeah. Like your church family.
Yeah.
That's why we call it a family, because it's, you know, and family doesn't just some families do, but it's not the right thing to do.
Right.
To just disown someone or say, oh, you're the black sheep.
Turn your back.
Or you're the one sheep. Mm-hmm. You know, like I said, the last time the good shepherd goes after the one, if you're outside of the fold somehow. And it is painful. And I just want to say I'm very sorry for what you've gone through, Jeana, in this past season. The grief and the loss and the non-support, and then the gaslighting and the try of control. But you are strong, and you have a beautiful and powerful voice. And I know how much you are tenaciously a lover of people and a lover of God, and how much you give of yourself. And any organization, any place would be blessed to have you. And I'm really glad that you're connected here with Brown Dog and us starting the event space together collaboratively. A brand new thing. It's beautiful, and I'm thankful because the things that you have to give and to offer are so beautiful. You make all things beautiful. You make them beautiful. You just touch them and they become beautiful. And I know there's been a gap there because of your touch, beauty that I know. But, you know, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. You've got so many things to touch and make beautiful. And I'm thankful that it's here.
Wow.
For at least for now. I mean, who knows what you may be doing in the future. You could start some brand new thing. Who knows? But just as long as you take me for the ride.
That's right. Well,
we are ride or die on this one.
That's right.
We're in it together.
And
that's one
the
thing
very
you need.
same though. The very same about you. Yeah. You are tenacious and brave and strong and fearless, and all of that is beautiful. And what you give away every day is unmatched. And so it's a beautiful gift. And so thank you for allowing me to be part of that also, and to
Absolutely.
even learn from your joy and your spirit and all the places. And and I would just like to say to you guys that if you have been church hurt or spiritually abused, and you just can't see yourself right now getting back into an organization or a community or cultivating anything, don't give up on God.
That's right.
That's what we would encourage you to do today, is just lean into Him. He wants to hold you. He wants to share with you. You know, as we've said, even just read a Bible verse. Just let that hit your heart different today. Just trust that He is good. And as we said last time, the character of man does not define the character of God, that He is love and joy and peace and patience and goodness and kindness and gentleness and self-control. He's all the beauty that we see around us, that He gives to us. And so just don't give up on Him.
And then don't give up on community. Don't give up on community, even if it's a small step.
Yeah.
You know, join a small group, a Bible study, or
just meet a friend for coffee.
Meet a friend for coffee.
Yeah, that's great. So thank you for joining us in the journey. We really appreciate you guys, and we just pray for healing for all of us.
There are always good things ahead.
Absolutely.
When we go through valley seasons, there's always mountaintops. But I was talking to our friend today that we were talking about, the pastor that we were talking with, and he was saying how growth happens in the valleys. That's where it happens. And I think we would not have probably launched a brand new thing, and
it's very true,
if we hadn't walked through a very difficult season. And so just trust that you have something new on the horizon.
Yeah.
It's valid, the things that you're feeling, and when your name is spoken ill of, and you've been lied about, just know the Lord holds your name in life.
It's good.
And if you've been a person of integrity, then it does not matter. It does not matter. It matters in that how you feel about it. That matters. But it doesn't matter in the long run, because truth always stands. And your integrity and your solid, deep rootedness in your beliefs, your ethic, your standard, those are the things that stand because they connect to eternal realities.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Until next time.
We'll see you down the road.